What's going on, everybody? This is Jerome Moore, host and creator of Deep Dish Conversations. And firstly, I want to say thank you for all love and support, and thank you for exploring the perspectives of social change with me on this platform. I want to encourage you all to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube and on your favorite podcast listen platform. And make sure you give us a 5-star rating if you're loving the Deep Dish Conversations. I appreciate all of the support again. I hope you all enjoy this episode. What's going on, everybody? This is your host of Deep Dish Conversations, Jerome Moore, and we have an excellent guest. I'm excited about this one, a Nashvillian OG, Rahim Buford. How you doing, Rahim?
Man, I'm doing great. Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to have a conversation and some good food, you know?
My theory is, Rahim, you could never have a bad conversation when pizza's involved.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It can't go wrong
Absolutely.
when pizza's involved.
Absolutely.
But I want to thank you for being here. You have an amazing story. You have an amazing journey, and I'm excited for people, our watchers, to learn about that. So as I mentioned, I know you grew up here in Nashville. Can you tell us a little bit about what part of Nashville you grew up in, and how was growing up in Nashville during your time compared to compare or contrast to what you see now?
Yeah. So my upbringing is in two parts. So I was born in 1971, Hubbard Hospital, out south, and to a single parent mother. I'm the third born of 7 total, and my early beginnings were very humble. South Nashville, Nolensville Road. In the early parts of my life, there was this street that at the very bottom of it was a fruit stand.
Okay.
And I don't know if you are familiar with the Nolensville area, where Harding Place. There used to be a Harding Mall.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was on Nolensville Road, there was this service merchandise. And there was the very first Lake Providence Church, real close to a street called Flora Maxwell. And so I lived early on a street called Providence Heights.
Okay.
And on top of that hill, most of those houses my granddad had built. He was a World War II veteran.
Okay.
And seemed normal for looking back as a kid, because what do you know as a child? Just ripping and running, hanging with my grandmother, picking wild berries, poke salad. We actually had an outhouse. We didn't even have running water.
Wow.
And we would get our water from next door, from Miss Maggie May. And I used to just play around with my brothers on top of the hill. And I remember as early as 3 and 4. And so by the time I would say 5, we were living in Winstead Manor, which is on Edmondson Pike. My mother had been moved into an apartment, and by that time there were 4 of us. Actually, there were 5 of us. And I'm up to like 76 now.
Okay.
And just normal, hanging out. My mom working, staying with my grandmother, and then I think in 1977 my mom met my stepdad. Then we migrated. Who became my stepdad. We migrated out to northeast Nashville, Parkwood area, Brick Church Pike, Ewan Lane, Dickerson Road, and we Parkwood Villa, and from 6 all the way up till 18, that was what you would call my hood, my stomping ground, adjacent to Golden Valley, Oak Park, Norcrest. All of that was my neighborhood, and early on, you know, school was cool. I didn't do well. I thought I was dumb, actually. And it was because of the grades that I made. And if you didn't get a good grade, A, B, or C, you're thinking, you know, naturally, like, I must not be smart. At least that's what I thought. But, of course, later on in life, I learned that I'm an auditory learner. And I need to experience education before I take it in. So hands-on, but also I realized later in life too that the educational stimulus was not enough to move the type of brain that I had.
Right.
In other words, it was boring.
Right.
And so I was really smart. It's just that the information that was given to me didn't appeal to me.
Right. And how it was given to you, right? The
Right.
methodology wasn't
Right.
Didn't fit your learning.
Right. Actually, yeah. And so, you know, very young age, man, I found myself into all kinds of stuff. We were poor. I didn't think we belonged in the neighborhood. It started small, you know, as my life moved into a negative, going to little stores, stealing out, you know, bubblegum, now later type stuff, because we didn't have anything.
Right.
Other kids had. Wearing the buddies, I don't know if you even
remember
buddies.
Did nobody wanna wear
They
the
cost
buddies?
$1.49. They make your feet feel fine. Those are the kind of things that brought about a lot of shame growing up.
Right.
When the Cougars from Pick and Pay, the Smacks, the jeans, not the Lees, not the Levi's, you know, or the parachute pants and things like that. So those were the worst times, you know, realizing that I was poor. And the way your status worked as a kid was like you had to have these external things to be a part of your identity. And so I said, you know, I'm not going to be a nobody.
Right.
So I found myself engaging in activity that I would later learn to be crime.
Right. And so, you know, I think you touching on a lot of good points that even is still to this day, especially amongst our youth, that if we don't have, or our youth don't have these certain things, these certain shoes, these certain clothes, we don't fit in, or we're not who we should be, right?
Right.
And that leads to criminal activity or finding a way to get those things, and that may be through criminal activity. Right. And I want all of our listeners and our watchers, you know, tuning in. We're finna get into your journey to the meet, and this is very important because I think, you know, prison is no game. Right. You know, and you know, I have family members who's been in prison and jail, and there's a distinct difference than being in that county and being in the prison, or even being in the feds, right? Right. And you did 26?
I was caged for 26 years of my life.
And so can you tell us about what led you to that, to being caged for 26 years, and then your development over those 26 years to where you are now? Because, you know, now I know it's a lot to unpack, and we'll go through it.
Yeah, so I can abbreviate it and just hit certain points, and if there are things that you might want to dive deeper off into, as this is a deep dive conversation, we can do that. But fast forwarding to growing up in my neighborhood, so I had two older brothers, and one of my brothers, you know, may rest in peace, Robert, he was the dude that made me fight. Like, I didn't want to fight, but he made me fight because he'd pick on me, and it just made me, you know, and in my home, this corporal punishment thing existed. And as you may know, corporal punishment dates back to carceral slavery and how whips were used to control behavior of African enslaved individuals, and using pain to control behavior. And so that was implemented in my home. And I know, like, a lot of parents even today think that it's okay to use these means by which to discipline, but the result for us is that, you know, it made us bad worse, you know what I mean? And the things that happened to us, we did it to other people in the neighborhood. And so being groomed to be this person that I really wasn't, but influenced to be in life, it came out in different ways. And so what actually caused me to end up in prison was a series of events. It started with, first of all, at a very young age, I had a pistol. In my neighborhood, if you don't have we call them straps, tones, piece. If you didn't have those, you felt a bit vulnerable to being harmed. That's just the way it was, and I can't explain why. But what happened is, I remember like yesterday, me and one of my homeboys, I'm gonna call him C, so as not to expose who he really was, we had done, and we were in this stolen car, and we did a burglary. Well, I remember like yesterday, we were in this stolen car. It was a Grand Prix. I'm going down Ewan Drive. I remember like yesterday, police pulled behind us. I pulled behind the dollar store, Brick Church Pike, Ewan Drive right there. Dumped up out of the car. He didn't jump out. I hit the creek, crossed the street, made it home. Mama waiting on me. She said, he already told on you. Dang. Yeah. Next thing you know, I'm going to juvenile. Not for 2 or 3 days, I get a juvenile sentence.
Right.
And I end up, after I went to Spencer Youth Center, I was in TYC. And what changed me was, while I was at TYC, Tennessee Youth Center in Jolton, Tennessee, my grandmother died. I didn't know how to experience death because it never happened before. So it was the first time in my life that I felt pain and no one had hit me.
Wow. And how did you feel when C told, snitched on you, told on you?
Yeah, so I really didn't even think about it because they put me back in a police car.
Okay.
So at age 16, I experienced police brutality because they drove us to the place where we were selling the stolen items.
Right.
Police took me out of the car. I remember like yesterday, leather jacket, Delta Force Nikes, stonewashed jeans, and Izod, black and white Izod shirt. Police grabbed me out of the car, lift me up, put me on the car, on the hood, not the hood of the car, but the top of the car, and tell us where it's at. Tell us where it's at, and
Right.
and I didn't.
Right.
He put me back in the car. What I didn't know, he was recording. And I said, man, you punk ass motherfucker. What you telling folks? I'm telling on myself, they recording me.
Wow.
Because I didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Entrapment.
Yeah, well,
Right.
that's if,
Right.
But so my grandmother's dead. I get a pass to the funeral.
Okay.
I don't know. All I know is me and my stepbrother, man, we committed a robbery within that time frame. I drove all the way down Nolensville Road. At the end of Nolensville Road, away from town, there was a quick sack. We were in this Cutlass Sierra that, I hate to admit this because I feel so bad. It was a stolen car. I already had it parked somewhere. I'm just being honest.
Right.
Did a robbery, and I remember like yesterday, it was this song, man, Eazy-E. I think it was Easy Does It. And they actually went through a robbery. And I'm not saying rap influences but
Right.
it influenced me.
Right.
I heard those lyrics. Remember I told you I was an auditory learner?
Right.
I processed that information in my mind. So when I hear words, I see pictures.
Right.
That's how my brain works.
So you said, "Oh, I can do
Yeah,
this."
I can do this.
Right.
I knew I could do it, and I did it.
Right.
And so as I'm leaving the place and going back up Nolensville Road, I see the cops going that way.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That changed my life forever. I didn't even know that it would, but I would eventually get out of juvenile. Now, I went in February of '88. I got out in July of '88.
Okay.
Right? But I got a chip on my shoulder. I'm smoking cigarettes.
Right.
I'm at home now. I don't care. My stepdad stole my pistol. We get into a fight. I'm the first of my brothers to get out on my stepdad in a fight. And I know I had to leave because either he was gonna kill me or I was gonna kill him. And my mother knew.
Right.
And she came down after that fight, and she just, first time she ever said what she said to me, she said, "Son, that's not the man I married."
Right.
And, went through a series of like heartfelt things she had said because, he was abusive.
Right.
I've seen things, and I guess I took some of that out on him because he had hit my mother before, and I left home, moved in with who I thought to be a friend.
Right.
Lived down the street from us, the guy that I looked up to. And the reason I looked up to him because he was the first dude to manhandle my stepdad.
Okay.
He saw him trying to whoop me in the backyard, whipped me with a belt, running, chasing me. He jumped 3 fences, grabbed him, picked him up. Dude, like, you ain't, get up off of him. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, I'm like, that's my hero.
Right.
That dude put it down.
Right.
Taught me how to cut hair. I love this guy, man, like a big brother to me. And I moved in with him. And one day, he had told me, he woke me up, he said, "Young blood," he said, "Man, you got to go back home." He said, "I can't pay the rent." He said, "I'm chapter 13 and I'm paying child support." And I said, "What if I can get the money?"
Right.
Committed a robbery, got the money, didn't have to go back home.
Right.
But guess what? Thing about stuff like that is that, you know, it gets addictive in some ways.
Right.
Next thing you know, we need some more money. I done committed a robbery.
Right.
Well, out in Madison, used to be a Lee's Chicken. Some told me, man, I come outside, my tires flat, but Mr. Know-It-All, I got fixer flat, put back in my car, went into the Kroger parking lot and just waited.
Right.
Scoped this place out, Lee's Chicken. Went to the place, went in, saw some people outside, took them in. This is a robbery. Look, I'm just here to get the money. I shot a gun into the floor and the bullet went, oh, sorry. And it hit him, hit a man.
Right.
And I ran, but I grabbed a sack. I was a juvenile, they had my prints.
You already in the system.
I'm already in the system. May the 5th, they picked me up at the car wash right across the street from Baskin Robbins on Dickinson Road. 30 police gunned down, you know, they arrest me. In less than a year, after I had 3 judge-appointed attorneys, well, and then I had public defenders, so I had 2 judge-appointed attorneys, but I ended up with a public defender.
Right.
In less than a year, I was convinced to plead guilty to a life and 20-year sentence. In less than a year, I'm in the penitentiary. At age 19, I got a life and 20-year sentence. They sent me from Nashville to Memphis at MLRC, and from MLRC, they sent me to Tiptonville at a place where youth are.
Right.
I ended up getting an assault charge. They shipped me to Fort Pillar, and ship means they transferred because slave language is still used in prison culture because prison culture is a derivative from chattel slavery.
Right, right.
Black codes, vagrancy laws, Jim Crow, all of that. It was, you know,
it's all wrapped around.
It's connected.
Yeah.
And in Fort Pillar where they sent me was real because I'd never been in a prison where everything was open and you could see, you know, they yelling fresh meat, all this kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, I'm scary. I'm scared to death. I ain't gonna lie.
Right.
And you could see right from one cell to the next cell. And it's the same place where Nathan Bedford Forrest killed more than 400 African-American soldiers from the Union. Right. And man, it was crazy. It was crazy. But man, I started studying Islam with these Muslim brothers. And turns out that I could be forgiven.
Right.
That's what they told me, at least I thought, and I believed it. So I started studying Islam, and then it motivated me to get my GED. I ended up getting my GED at Fort Pillar. Well, they shipped me to West High, or transferred me to West High, not far across the street. From West High, I ended up going to Turning Center, Vietnam. Turning Center, Vietnam in 1991. You're in a visit, before you get in the visiting gallery, coming from the compound, they got a picture of Nathan Bedford Forrest and General Lee on the wall.
Wow, they setting the tone.
Man, 2 black employees, everybody else white, in Hickman County, surrounded by the Duck River. Ain't no escape. Ain't no escape. And that's from 91 to 2002, I grew up in that place. And from 2000, and in 2002, so there's a lot of stuff I'm taking out. Like I met my older brother in prison, Chubby, may he rest in peace. Joe, it was 3 of us at the same. I never met I saw him one time. I was a kid. I didn't know who they really were. Right. But these my older brothers. We in prison together. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Y'all family reunions and stuff in prison. Right. And then, you know, while I was there, man, my sister was murdered. And my dad died while I was there. Right. I remember being at the casket, looking at this dude, and I'm like, you know, it's like this Tupac song, Me Against the World album, where he said my anger wouldn't let me feel for a stranger. Right. So I'm looking at this man in this casket. It's my dad, but I don't feel nothing. Right.
Man, this is
95, man.
This is real deep dish conversation right here, man.
Yeah.
And I know, and I would encourage any and everybody that's watching this, you know, reach out to Rahim, because there's only so much that we can get in this interview.
Absolutely.
There's only so much that we can capture.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage everybody to reach out. If you want to know more, you know, it's a ton of information. We'll get to that at the end.
Definitely.
People can reach out to you.
Okay, for sure.
But 26 years caged up in that environment. And so one of the things we talked about off the air was like food, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and we got this great piece in front of us now.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
said it makes you appreciate.
Yeah.
These delicacies.
Absolutely.
It's like a work of art.
Yeah.
During your time being caged up,
Mm-hmm.
outside of like food, what were some other things that maybe it's a young man out there or a young woman out there that's thinking about, doing something, get involved in something they shouldn't be involved in, but they got something for you.
Right.
They got something for you.
Right.
What are some of the things that maybe people are just not aware of, but just like, hey, this may not be what you want to experience.
Right.
What are some of those things that you experience that would maybe make somebody like, oh,
Okay.
maybe I don't want to
Okay.
get into this.
So, while I was in prison, as you know, first it was my grandmother died. Then in 95, my dad died. 2000, my sister was murdered. 2000, my granddad died. I saw 13 people murdered in front of me. And I'm talking about murdered the way it's the movies, like, with the shanks and the blood out of the neck type thing. All right, so those are some of the worst things that you experience in prison life, right?
Right.
But the thing is that when you're removed from society, the social death of going to prison,
Right.
you immediately have to adopt a survival mentality.
Right.
Because without the survival mentality, which makes you not as human as you really are meant to be,
Right.
you got to get in beast mode.
Right. You got to transform.
And so you learn things about yourself. And so for the kid or the young person who's thinking about doing something, is that it removes your humanity to a degree just to survive, right?
Right.
But even more, if you like birthdays,
Right.
if you like partying,
Right.
if you like being able to wake up in the morning and not have somebody yelling in your ear, whether it's a cellmate who you don't know, who you smelling body fluids, or some officer, some guard, some warden, somebody, you really want to think twice, because for the bad choice, one bad choice, I made several.
Right.
One bad choice can end your life for the rest of your life, because living in a prison is really existing for most.
Right.
Now, for me, it became a transformative experience because I really wasn't, quote unquote, meant to be there in a way that, like, yeah, I did wrong.
Right.
But I had the right guardrails, the right structure,
Right.
guidance, I never would have gone to prison.
Right.
Because I learned later that I have a scientist mentality.
Right.
I could have been a doctor or a lawyer.
Right.
I could have been
Anything
I wanted to be.
Right.
But the system threw me away because they thought that I could not be redeemed. I could not change.
Right.
And that was a lie.
Right.
And so for that young person who's thinking about, I want this stuff, material stuff is going to come in life.
Right.
Don't worry about that.
Right.
Because I have all the trappings of whatever success might look like outside materially now.
Right.
And you wouldn't know what my past was.
Right.
Had somebody shared with me that this is the route to take, this is how you get it,
Right.
which is what I do now.
Right.
I give the guidance, the information, the advice, and the opportunities to people who are transferring out of prisons, What's up, Nashville? This is Rahim Buford, and I just want to encourage you to check out Deep Dish Conversations with Jerome Moore.
So as y'all can see now, we eating good. We eating good now.
Definitely.
You were just about to transition right here
Yeah.
into
Right.
how your experience being caged up led you to
Right.
the work that you're doing now.
Yeah.
I know, and this is how we met, is through the Nashville Cash Bail Fund, but also your organization, Unheard Voices. And so can you tell us a little bit about how you took your experience being caged up and transitioning out and helping other people that was in your situation fight, for social justice around feminism and all those things.
Right. So that takes us back to Riverbend Maximum Security Prison, which is where I was transferred to in 2002. And I heard they were having college classes from Vanderbilt. I applied to those classes, and then they told me I didn't qualify because I had no previous college experience, but I thought that was dumb. So what I did was, because I was a president of an organization, New Beginnings, I would see these students and people coming in who were free world people, and I would go stare into the window. About the third time that I did that, a lady came to the to the door and asked me, young man, why are you looking through that window? I said, ma'am, I believe I should be in that room. She said, can you write an essay and tell us why? I wrote that essay a week, gave it back to her, and a week after that, I'm in college level, graduate level courses at Vanderbilt Divinity School. And that's when I came alive and I realized that higher learning education on the academic level had great opportunity.
Right.
My voice came alive, and then her name was Reverend Janet Wolf, and we're great friends to this day. And I would later, because of that experience, we created this school program called SALT, Schools for Alternative Learning and Transformation. I would meet President Dr. Harris, who was a Vanderbilt professor as well. He gave me a scholarship to attend American Baptist College, and he said, when you get out, the prophecy of hearing that, when you get out, something in me said, I'm gonna get out.
Right.
Well, 2015, after my third parole hearing and leaving with 15 credits from Lipscomb University, 3 credits from Ohio University, education became my liberation.
Right.
I'm out June the 25th, 2015, didn't waste any time, enrolled at American Baptist College. By that January, I'm out. I'm an organizer for the Children's Defense Fund Nashville team. That following year, 2017, I incorporate the Unheard Voices outreach to give not only a voice to formerly caged citizens, but also it was a way to push back against felоnism. And felоnism is the political, the social, the economic discrimination, disadvantaging of American citizens who are convicted of a felony.
Right.
And so it marginalizes a whole group of people.
Right.
So we have millions of people all across the United States who can't vote.
Right.
But what's very sad and profound and needs to be paid attention to is that in Tennessee, 421,000 human beings, citizens, can't vote. That's enough to swing an election.
Right.
That's felоnism.
Right.
It's not just I can't get a job,
Right.
I can't get an apartment.
Right.
It's the political tool that's used by those who are in power.
Right.
So the Unheard Voices pushes back against that. 2018, getting ready to get into the last phase of my college experience, I need an experience field training. I met Dawn Diener, who was the chief public defender at the time, elected public defender. She introduced me to the Nashville Community Bail Fund founders.
Right.
Because I'm trying to get some support for Unheard Voices, but also get, an opportunity to get this field training out the way.
Right.
They made me an offer I can't refuse. They said, we will support you, Unheard Voices, but would you consider working with the Nashville Community Bail Fund?
Wow.
This is in 18, like March. Something happened, the bail fund manager at the time, she resigned. They asked me, would I be willing to step up and, see if can I? Right. Absolutely. Stepped all the way up, became the Nashville Community Bail Fund manager in 2018. 2019, I graduate from American Baptist College, summa cum laude. Yeah. And so now I'm a college graduate.
Right.
My work is decarceration. I've bailed out more than 900 Nashvillians from jail because of the Nashville Community Bail Fund. And what it does is it bridges the gap between those without wealth and those who have wealth, and says they should be treated the same. And so we bail people out of jail who are only charged with offenses. And there's this misunderstanding about people going to jail and thinking that they're guilty.
Right.
But that's not the case. We've learned in the Nashville Community Bail Fund that over 50% of the cases that people are charged with that are not prosecuted, no one is found guilty.
Right.
You see, so what does that say about the larger picture of what is happening with wealth-based detention? And so we're moving now through an organization, and we're going to change how bail is done in Nashville on the pretrial level, because really just like those who are in prison, those who in the pretrial level, only the poor people get the short end of the stick and end up and stay there. If you got money, you don't spend a night in jail.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so what we learn and what I know now is that it's the General Sessions judges who appoint commissioners or magistrates who set bail amounts.
Right.
This is not TCA statute.
Right.
And so for any dollar amount, which is a ransom that you put on somebody's body, that you don't have to, just because there is this thing that we're still addicted to, and that's putting a price tag on a poor black body rooted in slavery. Again, because when black people were being freed on the plantations, some were still on the plantations, and black people had been free will pool their monies together and buy the freedom of a loved one. Bail funds, the same principle. Money, community, Nashville Community Bail Fund, go get that person, extract that person out of prison. They're not guilty. We're talking about mothers and fathers. We're talking about people who can lose their jobs. We're talking about people who can lose their children on charges that we know 50% of them are dismissed.
I hope y'all tuning in and really listening to these gems. And again, we can sit here and talk about this for hours, but how you're speaking about it is so prolific. I know people are going to want to reach out and want to figure out how they can help and support if you're good people, because there's no way you can be hearing this and not saying like, like I don't want to help out. How can people get involved with the Nashville Cash Bail Fund, or just bail reform, cash bail reform, or Unheard Voices Outreach? So with the Nashville Community Bail Fund, all anyone has to do is just Google Nashville Community Bail Fund. It's www.nashvillecommunitybailfund.org. All the information is there. We're going to be needing volunteers to participate in our Court Watch program, which we're just now starting. Because we don't want you to believe just because I'm saying it or some representative from the bail fund is saying it. We want you to bring your eyes and put your eyes on the experience of what's happening in these courtrooms to citizens that don't seem to have the support that they need. And so you can volunteer and be a watcher. Not only can you be a watcher, but if you have skill sets in data analysis, we can use you, we need you. If you have marketing skills, we can use you, we need you. If you have just creative mind, we need to find ways to get into the community and help people understand that just because somebody is charged with offense, it don't mean they're guilty. Now, that's the Nashville Community Bail Fund. Great opportunity. With the Unheard Voices Outreach, we also have a Watchers Project where a lot of people in prison file for post-conviction. They go into these empty courtrooms alone in chains and shackles, blue jeans, white stripe, and blue shirt, and get treated like they don't even matter, right? So we want to put eyes on this process and say, yes, you do matter, right? But even more than that, we're connected to the Choosing Justice initiative as we move to reform indigent defense. Because in Nashville, if you're poor, a judge selects, picks, chooses your attorney. Can you imagine that the same person that's about to announce judgment on your case is also selecting your attorney, picking your attorney, judge-appointed attorneys? So we want to put eyes on that process, but in addition to that, Unheard Voices Outreach has a no vote, no citizen, no freedom campaign to reach out to the 421,000 people who can't vote. Form this community so we can empower ourselves, so we can be self-determined and finance the operations to get our voting birthrights back. Because in the early 80s, even people in prison voted. This is a recent thing in Tennessee. So a lot of people have this false belief that people can't vote because they get convicted of a felony. That's not what happened. It's the people in power, ultra-conservative Republicans in Tennessee said, you know what, it's to our advantage to disadvantage all of you who get these felonies that we created. Let me say that again, that we created. What do I mean by that? Felonies are created by legislators. The very thing that this country is built on. You took a whole country, America, right? Right.
5,000 African American people or more were lynched. Nobody went to prison.
That's what we can. That's what we know. That's
You
what
tell
we
me?
can. That's
So
what we can.
we got kidnapping, we got robbery,
Right.
we have language, culture, religion, God taken from a whole people.
Right.
And those like myself, you're saying I can't fully participate in society because I made one bad choice?
Right.
Yeah, I did wrong. I did 26 years.
Right.
But here it is. All these people doing the same things, they don't even go to prison. Police, I mean, Daniel Hambrick, come on, man.
Right.
Man shot in his back seven times. Dude get a $25,000 bill, right? The police officer, but then you arrest this woman over here on a DUI, give her a $400,000 bill, and she died in jail recently in the last 60 days. So that's why we do this work. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's why I'm pushing back on the system, because if you can send me to prison and I got to do my time and I got to be held accountable, why not you?
Look, deep dish conversations at its best right here. Rahim Buford, everybody, reach out. How can they contact you?
You can contact me, first of all, by going unheardvoicesoutreach.org, but Rahim at unheardvoices.org, Rahim at NashvilleBailFund.org, Rahim 615-398-1228. That's Unheard Voices Outreach. So you can Google my name, Rahim Buford. I mean,
Google me.
Yeah, because
right.
I'm about this work in a real way.
Right.
I've been doing it since I've been out, 2015. Right. I'm real as I can get it.
Right.
I just want to see justice for everybody. I'm an American.
Right.
And I deserve an opportunity to really experience a full and a free life.
Right.
But right now, they're telling me that I got to be on parole for the rest of my life. They're telling me that I can never vote for the rest of my life. I have to ask permission. Constitutionally, whether it's United States or Tennessee, I'm considered a slave. You got to go read it. They said slavery is prohibited except if you've been duly convicted of a crime. So that ties it all together.
Right.
It's slavery, mass criminalization, mass incarceration, disenfranchising millions of Americans.
Right.
We don't have a real democracy, undermining it. So, you know, I can go on and on, but I don't have a choice but to do the work that I'm doing.
Reach out. If y'all ain't feeling this through the lens right now, this is powerful. So I encourage everybody to reach out to Rahim, find out more about cash bail reform, find out more about Unheard
Voices
Outreach. You know, and I know y'all, and this a lot of stuff. I know y'all do the car drives, like, you know, giving recently or formerly, you know, incarcerated.
We got smart
individuals,
cell phones, smartphones, smarts.
Cars. So they do a lot.
Yeah.
That we didn't get a chance to really dive in deep or extrapolate on. But I encourage all of you to reach out to Rahim or go to any of the contact information that he provided and check all of it out. And I know it's something you can do. I know it's something that we all can do to join this work and empower people.
It's just
and build
movement.
Power. Yeah,
it's movement. We building power. It's a movement.
Power.
We on all social media too. Just want to make that clear. Facebook, Instagram. I'm personally there. Unheard Voices is there. Nashville Community Bail Fund is there. All social media. We're on it all, and we're really doing it in real time.
That's it. I appreciate y'all's time, and see y'all next time. Rahim, thank you.
No, thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Hey, that'll give you chills. I don't know what's going to give you chills in life. Like, man, Rahim, man, get this man another piece.